and let Melissa know so she can follow up.
Okay.
But I haven't had any of them not show.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you back host and I'll hang out until I know he's here.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and restart the recording. I stop it
All right.
while we're chatting and then restart it once we're all set up. So I'll go ahead and start it so I don't forget to restart it.
Yeah, I know you usually start a little early. Well, not early, but so and then let Melissa know.
Okay. Go ahead and start my video.
We are live.
Here they come. Good morning, everybody. Welcome.
Oh, there's Max. Have a great class, Wade.
Okay,
Good morning.
thanks, Sharon. Bye. Hi, Pat.
Hi there.
Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome. Let's see.
Yeah, big class.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a large class today.
Good.
Sukumar, is that?
Yeah. Suko, short name is Suko, but Sukumar.
Suko. Okay.
Suko.
Welcome. Good to
Sukumar.
have you. And there's Sue. Hi, Sue. And Wilsey. Good to see you again. Still got that Golden Gate Bridge in the background there. Joanne, you're there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, Joanne.
Good morning.
And Valerie, you there?
Yes, good morning.
Hey, morning, Valerie. Hey, Jackie, you there?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, I'm here
Hey.
too, I guess.
Is that Deb?
Yeah, I thought because I'm using my phone, it required a phone call, but I guess it doesn't. 'Cause it-
Oh, nope. Looks like you're in and hooked up, so good.
Yeah, I don't understand it, but hey, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Terry, good to see you back. Got a short break, didn't we? Let's see, who else is here? Carolyn? Good morning.
Good morning.
Here's
And
Carolyn.
Yes, Carolyn, yes. And looks
Yes, good morning.
and Gladys, like you're here.
Mhm. See Gladys.
Mhm.
Am I mute? I'm Deb. Am I mute?
Nope,
Yeah.
I can hear you. Deb, yep, I can hear you. You're good.
I tried to mute. Normally I'm on my PC, but I don't know how to mute on my phone. I don't see an option to do it, so
Mm,
if I can't, that's all right. You might hear a cat meowing.
yeah, and well, and when I mute everyone, it'll mute you, but you need to find it to be able to unmute. Is it an iPhone or
No, it's Android.
Android?
It just has Wade at get set up at the bottom. Is that you?
That's me. Yeah.
And it has my picture at the top, small, and your picture big in the middle, and no other options that I can see.
Okay, and I've got an iPhone instead of an Android, so I'm not sure how to get to the mute button.
If I click on hold my picture, what if I hold my picture? Nothing. If I hold your picture, nothing. Oh, I held your picture. So I'm going to mute.
Okay, all right, good. I was more concerned about getting you unmuted so you can ask your question, but yep, so good, you've got it. So
Future
we're good.
reference, if you have an Android, you evidently press and hold the pinned or the post, I'm not sure,
Okay,
picture, and temporarily you get the options at the bottom to mute.
Okay.
Or whatever. Okay, I'm going to
Great.
do it. Bye.
Thanks, Deb. Okay, good. Let's see, who else is coming? Candy, hi,
Good morning.
welcome. And Andre? And who else am I missing? Let me look through. I think I've got everybody. Someone's logged in. Is this you?
It's you.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning.
Is it just pronounced Sue?
Yes,
Okay. All right. Welcome, Sue. How are you?
thank you. Good, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. All right. And let's see. I see Karen's coming in. Karen, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, all right, great. And then let's see, and Roxanne. All right. So we usually take the first 4 to 5 minutes to give people to get in from their other classes and get their technology working. I think I've heard from everybody except Roxanne. Are you there, Roxanne? Anyone that's not showing your picture, if you want to, it's right there beside the mute and unmute button, start video. So we'd love to see what you look like, but it's not required. I know it's still early in the morning, depending on where you are. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with a couple of housekeeping things here and getting ready for the class, and a few more people may come in here. I'm going to move your pictures over to my other monitor so I can see all of you. There we go.
Hi, where is Chris? Max, sorry. Can you please make me co-host?
Oh, yep, sure will. Hang on, Max. Let me pull the participants down again, move them over here, and you are good. Okay. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. We got a big class here, so, and I'll remute if we pick up any background noise, echoes, those sorts of things several times during the class. So just remember to check your mute and see if you are muted before you ask your question. If you are, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. No reason to raise your hand or anything, just unmute and ask away. And I'm going to open up the chat over here so I can see that as well. So if anyone is having trouble with their microphone, you can use the chat, and Max from our Get Set Up TA team is here to help monitor the chat. But if your microphone's working, please just go ahead and ask your question out loud. That way everyone else will hear your question and I'll hear it and get you a prompt response. But if you're having mic problems or prefer to use the chat, it is now open and we will be watching that as well. Okay, so I think that takes care of the setup and preliminaries. So let's go ahead and start the class. This is Password Managers, why use one and how to find one. Thanks for coming. Hope you enjoyed the class. My name is Wade Yarbrough, and I'll be the guide for the class this morning. Very briefly about me, I'm from a small town called Mason, Tennessee. It's in West Tennessee, very small town. I have a degree in psychology, got my undergraduate degree at Mississippi State and went to West Virginia for my doctorate. I've taught psychology at several colleges, but spent most of my working career designing, installing, and training users on hospital information systems. So I've done a lot of adult training, and I think I'm enjoying teaching and Get Set Up more than anything else I've done, mainly because you're here because you're interested in the class, not because your employer made you come and take the class. And that makes a big difference. And that's what we try to do at Get Set Up, is to create an environment where you can come and learn about topics you're interested in, along with other people that are also interested in that same topic. And you can interact with each other as well as interacting with the guide. And that's what we try to create, is a nice, safe, interactive environment for training. The class is being recorded, and any participant can request a copy of that recording. Just send an email to help@getsetup.io. I'm going to put that in the chat as well. So if you don't have that already, you can copy it out of the chat. There are lots of ways and reasons to use that email, so make sure you've got that in your email contact list. We're also live streaming the class today, so I do want to welcome anyone joining us via live stream. Thanks for coming, and hope you enjoy the class as well. But I do want to stress, to get the full Get Set Up experience where you can interact with the other learners and with the guide, you do need to go to our website and register for the class. And finally, Get Set Up is not paid to promote any of the products and vendors that we train on. We are purely trainers. Agenda for today. By the end of the class, you should know the problems that we have with the way we currently are storing passwords. I think you probably all know about the password problem, or you wouldn't be here. We'll talk about what I'm calling the gold standard of password management, is what we should all strive toward. We'll talk a lot about browser-based password managers and what I'm calling true password managers, how they're similar, but some critical differences. We'll talk about how to find, install, and use a password manager. And finally, I'll demo one of the more popular password managers. So this class is mainly conceptual material, but I think it does get a little more concrete as we move through. And I think the demo at the end really kind of brings it all together. So we're going to make sure we got time for that demo at the end of the class as well. So let's talk about the password problem. And once upon a time, I remember those days, some of you probably do as well, that we had maybe 2 or 3 passwords and we were logging into 15 or 20 sites. Life was pretty simple, wasn't too tough. I had 2 passwords that were very similar. One of them was my secure password that I use for my bank account or my brokerage account, and the other was for social media and everything else. A recent report has found that now most people have over 50 passwords that they're using, and that they're logging into over 200 sites. So things have gotten more complicated. And probably more importantly, a recent data breach investigation. Data breaches being when someone actually gets a hold of your username and password and uses it to log into other sites. 80% of data breaches are caused by weak and reused passwords. Weak passwords make them easy for someone to hack into. And then reusing passwords means that if they are able to get your password, they can then use it to log into multiple of your sites. And so your exposure is much higher if you're reusing passwords as opposed to having different ones. So pretty much then the challenge is to use complex, secure passwords. Don't use your dog's name for your password. And to not reuse passwords across multiple sites. That one is tough, but we'll talk about some ways to kind of ease into that. But that really is the challenge. That's the goal that we're heading toward. Okay, the problem is coming up with secure passwords. We're not very good at thinking up good passwords, so we typically need some help to create good secure passwords. And then we've got to remember all those passwords, especially if we take this to the degree that the security experts said we should, which means that if you're logging into 200 different sites, you would have 200 different passwords to keep track of. So let's talk about ways to manage passwords. We'll start with where we've all been, and some of us probably are. I won't ask for a show of hands, but paper notebooks were sort of the mainstay originally. The problem, and they worked pretty good when we only had 5 or 6 passwords, but the problem is they're hard to maintain. If you're adding passwords, changing passwords, lots of sites now require you to change your password at least once a year. Some are now making you do it twice a year. And there's also a problem that you don't have it with you, hopefully, when you're traveling. So if you're at a hotel or at a friend's house or at the library and you need to log onto a site, you don't have your book with you. If you have it with you and you lose the book, then you've really got problems. So if you've now given away the keys to the kingdom, somebody's got access to all of your usernames and passwords. So it really isn't a very sustainable solution going forward. Another thing that most people are using, a lot of people don't really realize what they're doing or how it's working, but with most browsers now, they have a built-in password manager. So most times if you go to a site for the first time, I'll go to Facebook and create an account, create a username and password, and something pops up and says, do you want me to remember this password? And you say yes. And then the next time you go to Facebook, it automatically logs in, puts in your username and password for you. That's the password manager that's baked into your browser. And it's a step above using paper and pencil because it does automatically remember all your usernames and passwords, and it fills them in for you. Several problems though. One is if you use more than one browser. So for instance, maybe you use Chrome for your desktop and Safari on your iPhone. A lot of people use more than one browser, even on their the Windows device. You can see down at my taskbar, I use Firefox, Chrome, and Edge. So I use 3 different browsers. And so a password I put into Chrome doesn't carry over to Edge, or I put something on Edge, it doesn't go to Chrome or Firefox. So you've got to basically do it 3 times to get it into all 3 of your browsers. So it's not very nice in that way. Plus, it doesn't help you at all logging into apps on your smartphone or tablet. And we'll keep this hidden for a while, but so there's my my iPhone. So it doesn't help me getting into any of these apps. Since it's browser based, it only works with things I'm getting to through my browser. Let me stop for questions here. I've covered a good bit of territory. Any questions about anything so far? And somebody asked in the chat about data breaches. There's lots of ways to find out about it. If once the organization knows there's been a data breach, so if somebody breaks into Walmart and you have a username and password for Walmart, they're supposed to notify you that there's been a breach. There's also third-party organizations that you can sign up for that let you know of data breaches. So there are various ways to find out, but the site that was breached is supposed to let everyone know that has a site there if their username and passwords was potentially breached. All right, we'll keep going. But again, if you do have questions and comments, please go ahead and just unmute and ask your question or make your comment. So let's talk about what I'm calling true password managers. And a true password manager is a software application that you have to download, and it's designed to store and manage your passwords. I mean, it is what it does for a living. It provides access on all of your devices. So if you've got a laptop and a desktop and a iPhone and a Kindle Fire like I do, I can use it on all of my devices. It'll work on all the browsers. It'll work on the 3 on my computer. It'll also work with Safari on my smartphone. So it'll work with any browser. It will generate secure passwords for you. So so as we're talking about the good and the bad of the browser-based password managers, very few, if any of those, will generate a secure password. And I'll make one comment about the browser-based password managers. They are getting progressively better. And they're starting to incorporate aspects of what I'm calling the true password manager. I think there is one now that does generate secure passwords for you. So they are getting closer to a true password manager, but I don't think there's any yet that are there entirely. And this is one of the things they still can't do. They can't work with apps on your smartphone. And plus, they still don't talk to each other. So even if Firefox did most of the things you'd expect a true password manager to do, it still isn't going to help me when I'm on Edge or Chrome. Probably the most important difference is that a true password manager utilizes a master password protection scheme, which is a way of synchronization. So that is the most secure way to do this. And at this point, I don't think any of the browser-based password managers utilize a master password encryption process. Let's talk a little bit more about this. This is a little complex and hard to understand, and I don't want to get into too much detail, but at a fairly high level, let me try and explain what that is and how it works. So the way the password manager works, and the ones we're going to be talking about, and most of them now are cloud-based, which means that software and all of your passwords are stored in the cloud, which means they're stored in the data center of whichever password manager you're using. But let's say I create a password and say this is my password for Facebook, live long and prosper. So I enter in that password when I create my account. It's encrypted and stored in the data center up here of my password manager. And by encryption, it means that it takes live long and prosper and it stores it as ISP7UUS+ / gobbledygook, something that is not usable. When I come back to my computer and I go to log into Facebook, it takes that gobbledygook, translates it back to live long and prosper, puts live long and prosper in the password field for Facebook, and I log in. So the critical piece here is a couple of key critical pieces is that what's stored in their data center up here is gobbledygook. So even if someone breaks into that data center, finds this file that has my passwords, like here's my Facebook password, this is Instagram, here's my bank account, here's my Charles Schwab account, whatever. All of my passwords are stored in here, but they're all gobbledygook. And the only way they can convert this back into my real password is to have this key. It's called an encryption key. The key is what's used to convert it to gobbledygook and then to translate it back into something real. This is the master password. So my master password is the key. Without that master password, you can't unencrypt this. And my master password is not stored in the data center of my password vendor. It's not stored anywhere except in my head or on wherever a piece of paper I've written it on or where I've put it. So the point there is that let's say cyber criminals hack into the data center, get to my vault, they get all my passwords, they are useless unless they can get my master password. Is that making sense? Questions about that master password process?
Yes, I have a question. The master password, it's the key to get all your sub passwords, like you mentioned Facebook, then you mentioned Instagram. So is there still another set of passwords that you have to know or put in, or every time you go to each one of those sites, you only have to put in live long and prosper?
No, live long and prosper is my Facebook password. That's just an example of, well, I type this into Facebook and it puts it here in my vault. And when I log into Facebook, it takes it out, converts it back to live long and prosper and logs in. I got a different password here, different password here. I still have a different password for every site I log into ideally. This key, this master password is the encryption key that converts it and unconverts it. It's not this isn't entered into any of the sites. It's only entered into the software that runs the, it's my user ID and password for my, and we'll use LastPass as an example. That's the one that I use, LastPass. So the master password is what I use to log into LastPass, but that's the only thing it's used for. And then it encrypts and unencrypts.
Okay, all
Does
right.
that make more sense? It's a little complex.
It's getting there.
Yeah, we'll talk a lot about it. Hopefully by the end of the class, this will make a little more sense. And now,
So Wade, Wade, this is Deb again. So that's a good question. And I guess I'm old and it takes me a while to make sure I understand things. So sorry about that.
No, this is complex. Please ask questions. Other people have the same questions probably.
So this is like a confirmation. So with these password managers, at least LastPass, which was one of the ones I was wondering about, so I'm glad you're using it. You have a master password. And in your example, the master password would be something, but it would not be live long and prosper because that's the password for Facebook.
Correct.
So if we take the model that, for instance, I'm using now, which is the one you alluded to, which is I have a password protected on my computer, Word document that has all my information.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Which is terrible. It's scary, but it's password protected, at least on my computer.
Better than a piece of paper, yes.
It's better than a piece of paper. Plus, I can't print it out if I want a piece of paper, and I can, be careful with that. But it's scary because it's pages and pages and pages long.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing this for a long time. So anyway, that would still exist in an electronic form somehow. You would have to get all that data about, the email address or the username and all the passwords for all the sites that you go to. You would have to get that entered into something somehow for this password manager. And that would remain pretty much conceptually the same. But the difference would be that you would have a master password, and I'm just going to make one up. My master password. You would never do that, of course. And it would take that when you go, somehow this password manager would be maybe integrated into something. I don't know. I don't know how that happens, but you would put in your password, my master password. It would encrypt it, use it, then de-encrypt it, I guess, back or something. And that would give the password manager access to your real passwords, your body of passwords.
Yep. Yeah, you're pretty, that's, I think, conceptually accurate. Let me go through a slightly differently. And again, we're going to hit this several times during the course and hopefully it'll be clear. But let me start from scratch here. So I turn on my laptop, it's been turned off. And so I'm ready to start using it. The first thing I have to do is to, and here's LastPass on my computer, I have to log into LastPass. So I log into LastPass using my master password. So that username and password is what I use to log into LastPass. And then it stores that password on my computer. So I've got it now on my computer. And so it's going to use that now to encrypt passwords and to unencrypt passwords because I just put it in when I logged in. And so that's all that does. It basically activates my password management system. And
so then you only have to remember one password. Is that correct?
You just have to remember this master password to activate your password management system.
Right.
And then it does everything behind the scenes.
Right.
You don't really have to understand this encryption, de-encryption process, but that's what it uses to encrypt.
Okay, just one password.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so without knowing what that username and password is, this is useless.
Yeah, okay.
But why were you saying you have a different one for Facebook and Instagram?
Yep. So
That
you
confused me.
yeah, you still have a different password for every site you're logging into.
But then don't I have to remember those?
No,
Nope.
no,
nope.
just the one.
And yeah, and
Oh,
I'm
okay,
going to
so
do a
you're
demo.
saying it produces a different password for all your sites. You don't, because you said you have one for, Facebook, one for Instagram,
Yep, they're
but
right.
you're saying they figure that out. You
No,
just
no,
always have to know the one?
No, you create those as well, just like you do now. So
Oh.
nothing else is different than it is to now. If I've never been on Facebook before, I would go to Facebook. I'd go to their website. I would put in my username. I would create a password for Facebook. One thing that's
Then
different is,
aren't you still having to remember what
Mm-mm.
passwords you create for all those
Yeah.
sites?
nope,
That's-
you don't. And I'm going to demo that. And when we demo, it's going to be a little easier to understand. But no, you do not. It's going to automatically fill it. And if you're using a browser-based password manager, it's doing the same thing. But when you go to Facebook, it's going to fill in your username and password for you. So you never need to know what it is. So hold on that one, because that'll become more clear as we move along. For now, just take my word for it, how it works conceptually, and then I'll show you a real live example. I think it'll make it a lot clearer. But you still have to have a password for each site you log into. And the experts say it should be a different one for every site. So if I log into 200 different sites, I should have 200 different passwords. That's the gold standard. We're not there yet, but you're not using your master password in every site. That would be a bad thing. But one other thing about the master password I want to say before we move on is that since this isn't stored anywhere, you've got to keep this secure. Because like if I forget my Facebook password, I can go there and say forgot password, and it'll let me sign a new one, or it'll tell me what it is. If you lose your master password, you're done. You've got to start all over again. So treat this like any other critical document. Put it on a 3x5 index card, put it in a safe in your house, put it in a lockbox at your bank. Put it someplace where you can get to it if you forget it, or where a family member can get to it if you're incapacitated and they need to get into your accounts. Because if you forget what it is, nobody else can restore it for you. So let's keep going. I think some of this is going to become a little more clear as we go along. So the gold standard then, and I've kind of mentioned this already, I'm just going to go through this quickly to summarize. You have a unique complex password for each account. And I mentioned the gold pass standard. This is your behavior. Now, these master password software packages we're going to talk about don't force you to have a unique password for every account. It allows you to do it. It manages it for you. It's not going to make you do it. You can keep using all the passwords you're currently using. So this is our behavior that we have to decide when and how we're going to get to that point. Everything else the software does for you. The password is stored in a secure encrypted vault. Your master password is used to access your vault. Passwords are available, okay, on all your devices. Password additions and changes on any device are synced to all devices, and you can log into programs via your browser or through apps on your phone. So it basically does all the things we've talked about up until now. Okay, so let's go through how you get one of these, and then I do want to save time for the demo, because I think the demo is going to make a lot of this conceptual material clear. So I don't want to, I want to make sure we have plenty of time for the demo. But let's say that you decide you've picked one you want to use. So, and there are several. We're going to talk about the different ones a little bit. What you would do is go to their website, and I'll use LastPass. And again, I'm not saying LastPass is the best one. It's one of the top ones, but there are others that are just as good or better. But if I decide to use LastPass, I would go to the LastPass website. I would create an account on their website. And as part of that, I would create my master password. and I'm going to make sure I know where it is. It's going to be safely secured somewhere, and it needs to be a secure password, but it's one you have to remember. So this one has to be something, it still should have uppercase letters, lowercase letters, at least one number, and at least one special character, but it needs to be something you can remember. Okay. Then when you log into a new site, it's going to offer to save your credentials, your username and password. When you return to that site, it will automatically fill in your username and password in that site. You don't have to remember the password. It's going to do it for you. You can have multiple logins for the same site. I've got 4 different logins for Amazon. It will let me keep 4 different ones, and I'll show you how that works. Most of them have a browser toolbar extension. If you're familiar with browser extensions, that's really what this is. You don't have to use the extension. It just makes it easier. And you can download and install it on any of your devices. So once you've got it set up, if you've got a laptop and a desktop, you've got to install it on both of those devices. If you want to put it on your phone, you have to go to the App Store and download the app to put it on your phone. I've got it on my Kindle Fire. I had to go to the App Store and put it on my Kindle Fire. So you have to put it on each device, but then they all sync together and work together once you've got them installed. Right. So I've now got the software working. I've got my account created and it's on all my devices. And somebody alluded to this earlier. I got to load my vault now. My vault is empty. There's nothing in there. Before I start loading my vault, one thing I need to do is turn off my browser-based password managers if I'm using them. And you're probably all using them because they come by default turned on unless you've already turned them off. It's slightly different depending on each browser, but it's the same basic process. You need to go into settings, however you get into settings on that browser. This is Chrome, so I'm going to go into settings. And then you're going to look for autofill or passwords somewhere in your settings there. So like here's passwords in Chrome. So I click on that and there'll be usually 2 different settings. One, offer to save passwords. It'll be turned on. You turned it off. Automatically sign in to sites when I go to them. I turn that off. So now I basically disabled the browser-based password manager. If you don't do that, you're going to have 2 different software packages fighting over filling in your passwords, and it's going to be very confusing. They also will have all your saved passwords somewhere where you can see them. So you can go here. So as you're going to start loading your vault, you've got a list here you can use. So there's 2 options. One is what I call the gradual process. So I've turned off my password manager on my browser. I go to Facebook. And so I log into Facebook. I can either use my existing password, get it off of this, out of my settings here, see what my password is, or if I've still got a paper and pencil one, I've got it from there, but I would log into Facebook. LastPass is going to recognize it doesn't have a Facebook password in the vault. So it's going to say, do you want me to remember this password? And you say yes. The next time I go to Facebook, I can click on a link and tell LastPass to load my password into there. I don't need to know what the password is. I don't ever see the password. It does that. And again, if you're using the browser-based password manager, works the same way. So that's kind of the gradual add. It's a little longer, but it's low tech. And it also gives you the opportunity to change your password. So instead of taking my existing Facebook password, I would create a new one and put the new one in the vault, a new, better one. So that's another advantage of doing the gradual add. If you're a little more tech savvy, you can download your passwords from your password manager, or if you've got them somewhere else in a uploadable form, you can download the passwords and then upload them into your password manager. Again, a little more technically complex, but it's a little faster. So Those are the two basic options. Okay, let's go on to the demo, because again, I think this is going to bring things together, and I'll take lots of questions during the demo, but this is usually where, before we go into the demo, you have to select your password manager software, and that could be an hour-long class in and of itself. So what I'm doing is I'm sending you in the email after class 2 different articles that review password managers. They're both current articles from 2021. I'm just going to click into one of them to show you what I'm talking about. So this one is from Safety Detectives, and it lists, their 10 best password managers. It ranks them in terms of which ones they think are best, but for each one of them, it'll go in and tell you the pros and the cons, what it does better than some of the others, and talks about each one of them. So this is a good way to go in and figure out which one you want to use. I'll say that these top 10 are all probably equally good in terms of security. They all use the master password. They're all safe and secure. They differ more in just how they work. Some of them work different ways. So one of them make more sense to you than another one. Some of them have things other than just saving passwords. You can save your Wi-Fi password. You can save documents. You can put in your credit card numbers. So they have other things besides just remembering your usernames and passwords that differentiate them. Different costs. They all cost something. Almost all of them are subscription services, fairly inexpensive, but there is a cost for each one. So those 2 articles will go over those in great detail. So let's go into the demo, see if we can make some sense of this. So this is my link. This is LastPass. So I'll show you how I use it on a daily basis. So let's say I want to log into my Disney Plus account. I would start typing Disney. It stores the URL where you log into Disney, so I don't have to remember that. I just pick what I want to log into. It takes me to that website, and I hit login. And so it's asking for my email. You see this little triple dot here? That's the logo for LastPass. It looks the same. I just click that, and I say fill. It fills in my username. I hit continue. I do the same thing over here again. I click the link, and I say fill. It fills in my password. I don't see my password. I don't know what that password is. I don't care what that password is. LastPass is doing it for me. I hit login. I'm logged into Disney. So I never needed to know what that password was. It is a unique password. It's different than the passwords I use other places, but I don't need to see it. Let me do another one, because I mentioned you can have multiple logins. Let's say I want to go into Amazon now. I'll start typing Amazon. AMA is all I need to enter. Here's my 4 different accounts. This is mine. This one's my wife. Spouses can use one password vault and share it. You can have your own. It kind of depends on how you manage your things. If you don't mind your spouse being able to log into your account, it's cheaper to have just one, but that's your choice. I'm going to log into mine. So it took me to the first screen, and since I'd already told it which one I'm logging into, it went ahead and put in the username automatically, but it stops at the password. Again, as a double security check, makes me pick again. I picked the one for my account, hit fill, logs it in, sign in. I'm now logged into Amazon under my account. Questions? Everybody kind of see how that's working? There were several questions about this. Now, I didn't enter my master password because I was already logged in. And you determine how often you have to re-enter your master password. For my laptop, whenever I turn it on in the morning, whenever it's been turned off and turned back on, it makes me enter my username and password, my LastPass master password. During the day, I don't have to re-enter it again because the chance of somebody stealing my laptop while I'm sitting here using it at home is pretty slim. So it's good until I turn it off again. Now on my phone, every time you use it, it makes you enter the password. So if I log into Evernote and I log out and then I log into something else, I have to enter it every time because the chance of somebody stealing my phone or me losing my phone is fairly high compared to my desktop. So in that case, anytime I need to enter a password, it requires I make it do my master password, or actually use my fingerprint on my phone, which makes it easier.
Wade,
Uh-huh.
this is Deb again. So you have to load this password manager, which becomes an add-on for multiple browsers.
Yep.
If you multiple browsers, but you have to put it on your, let's say, personal, PC or Mac or whatever you have. And then you would maybe put it, like you said, on your Kindle, and you can put it on your phone, you said.
Uh-huh.
You just said you can put it on your phone?
Yes. And here's my, this is Firefox. It's right here on my Firefox, just like it is on my Chrome. And yeah, here it is on my phone.
Okay.
So if I wanted to get into it on my phone, I would just touch that app, and okay. It's, like I said, on my phone, I'm using my Touch ID for my master password. So I can just touch, and now I'm logged into LastPass on my phone.
So one question I have is, I still work. So I have a PC at work that I use on their network. So I would have to choose whether or not I wanted to, I might not even be able or allowed to install this on a PC at work. So it's pretty much not for work.
You don't need to. Nope, you don't need to. I can just come here and go into LastPass.
Oh, it's web-based at that point.
Web-based, yep. And I log in, and this is where I'd have to put in my username and my master password, and then I'm into my vault at the browser level. That's okay. Where I mentioned earlier, if I want to get to it when I'm at a hotel and I'm using the PC down in the lobby of the hotel, just remember to log out when you're finished.
Right.
So.
Okay.
But once I log in, I can get to all my usernames and passwords from any one I'm on.
Okay, so it has all the information then when you go to so you just go into your websites then, and you would approach login like you normally do. And then as you fill in you fill in your username based on what LastPass, I'll just say LastPass password manager has available. So it stores all that stuff. And then what happens is it does an encrypt before it fills in the password in the password field. And then you say sign on, and then you say sign on. So that's encrypted all the way to the website you're going to. And it takes care of notifying that website it does the exchange of the passwords, the real passwords or whatever, however it does it.
That happens here in the browser level. So it goes out, grabs my encrypted password, unencrypts it, and puts it into the field to log into Amazon.
Right. So it does all that work for you, so you don't have to do it. And then obviously when you get stuff back from the back from the website, then you're signed on. So it just
once you log in, it's no different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at this point, it doesn't matter that I got here through LastPass versus keying it in myself. I'm logged in. So it really is just logging in. It's the only thing that's different.
Okay, so you get a new encrypted password every time you indirectly sign on to a website through the password manager.
The same password. It uses the same password every time.
But I mean encrypted. The encrypted.
Encrypted.
So the password that it creates when it encrypts your regular password, which it has knowledge of, it creates an encrypted password that you don't even know what it is.
Yeah, don't
every
get, I
time.
think you're getting too bogged down in the encryption. Don't worry about the encryption. That's all taken care of. It's there,
Right,
yeah,
okay,
it's just understand that if somebody gets into the vault at LastPass, they can't use my passwords.
okay.
How
So
it
one
all
more
works is really probably beyond what we need to talk about. And there's some other things I want to make sure we cover.
Okay, okay, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to really understand it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So the next thing we want to show is we talked about getting better passwords. So let's just, so let's say I do want to change my password at Amazon and get a more secure password. What I would do here is just click and come down to here where it says generate a secure password. And you can tell it what, how secure you want it. If you just want something that uses uppercase letters, it'll let you do that. You should do full encryption. Now there's some sites maybe that don't allow symbols. So sometimes it's dictated by the site you're logged into. Most sites now force you to use all these different ones. But again, you've got some flexibility here and you tell it how long you want the password to be. I only want it to be 7 characters long, or I want it to be 39 characters long. Here's my password up here that it's generating. So once it's generated that, I can just copy this and paste it into the field in Amazon where it says new password. And with some sites, you can fill it and it'll copy over. And this is where there's some differences between the different password, master password vendors in terms of how this works. But worst case, and I typically just do this old school because I'm used to it, I just copy, then I click over to the page in here where it says new password and I paste it and I'm done. So that's how you can generate new secure passwords. Does that make sense? And so that's right here, secure password, generate secure passwords. That's one of the 2 parts. We said you got to generate good secure passwords. This is how you do it. And then you need to remember them all. And LastPass is doing that. So this is your part. LastPass will let you put any password you want to. I can put Elsa, which is the name of my dog, as my password if I want to put it in there. LastPass doesn't force you to use, or none of the password vendors require you to use secure passwords. They just give you the way to do that. Questions? Is this helping clarify things? Let me click into here again. I'll go into the full vault where it says open my vault. So this is where I would go if I went ahead and logged in here and put in my username and password. It would take me here. It's the other way I can log in if I don't want to use this little shortcut there. I just open my vault, or if I'm at the hotel and I'm down in the lobby and I want to log into Kroger, I can just come here and launch from here just like I launched before. I can do more things from here though. I can go in and click on the wrench, which is edit, and I can edit that password. So here's where it stores the URL that I used to log in to Kroger. Here's my username. Here's my password. If I need to see my password, I can click here and it'll show it to me. You know, there are times when you need to know the password. I've had cases where I'm on with support at a company and they say, what's the username and password you use to log into our site, you know, to verify my identity. So I can click here and read that password off to the person. You can add notes, which is also handy. Some sites you have security questions, you know, where they'll ask you a question, what was the name of your, what was the make of your first car? And you have to remember what that was. So you can put those notes in here. So if you're trying to log in and it asks you one of those questions, you can come to your vault and see what the answer is to those questions, but they are stored securely in your vault in encrypted format. This is also where you can put other things like your credit cards and your bank accounts and other information if you want to store other things in your encrypted vault besides just your passwords. And these are things, again, that vary vendor to vendor. Some may not have an option to store your credit cards and your bank accounts. So those are things that may lead you to use one package versus the other. Questions?
Wait, I have a question. This is Joanne. Is it generally without this, you'll often see it'll say show password. Is it generally a good idea to show your password? I mean, I know that you have that option. I'm not talking about on this particular master password. What I'm saying, like generally when you go on different sites, it'll say show password.
No, I mean, you're not going to want to show your password unless you need to see it. And if you're doing it, you need to make sure, I mean, if I'm doing it in the lobby of a hotel, I want to make sure somebody's not looking over my shoulder and watching what I'm doing.
Yes.
This kind of thing.
All right, thank you.
As long as you exercise some caution, there's, if I'm sitting here at my computer at home, there's absolutely no problems with looking at what my password is.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So I guess I'm not sure is there an advantage if you're going to set up whatever password, like live long and prosper, and then it encrypts that, for security, what's the advantage of changing live long and prosper this is for a site. What's the advantage of changing that to something more secure if it's going to encrypt it and make it secure anyway, I guess?
That's a good question, because the way people hack into your account is not by hacking into your password vendor's vault and stealing it. They're going to they've got computer programs that just start trying different passwords and try to log into your account. So they'll go to First National Bank or they'll go to Facebook and start entering passwords. And if you're using something simple, they'll probably hit it. And that's how they hack into your account. They guess your password. They don't steal it. So even if I've got it securely stored in LastPass's vault, if I'm using Elsa 123, the name of my dog plus 123, there's a good chance they'll guess that because they use proper names and number combinations. So they've hacked my password. They haven't hacked my vault.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Good question.
I got a question. I see bank account and payment you can add, but that's just the information that you would add in those areas?
Yeah, if you wanted to store all your credit card numbers in here so you could get to them without having the physical card with you.
Okay.
And what's your recommendation for, say you have the password manager, what's your recommendation for then changing each, password on each site? How often?
Well, you don't really need to change them that often. Especially if you've got a good secure password and it's stored in a password vault. The reason to have different ones for each sites and having different one for every site is the goal. Very few people get there. You should certainly have a different password for every financially related site you log into. Your checking account, your brokerage account, when you log into Medicaid or Medicare, anything that's money related, have a unique password for each one of those sites. If you use the same password for Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, it's less of a problem because if somebody does hack that password, all they can do is get into all your social media. They can't get into your checking account and steal your money. But the gold standard is to have a unique password for every single account. But I'll tell you, I'm not there yet, but I do have unique ones for anything that's money related where somebody could steal money.
And it doesn't matter how complex you make it because once you enter it into LastPass, it's going to remember it for you.
Right.
Like
so I don't have to
you
remember.
can make it, I'm just making this up. You can make it, 10, 15 characters if you want. For the first time you do it, it doesn't matter because you're not having to remember that.
Exactly. So this could be my checking account password. And I would never, ever remember it, but no one's ever going to hack it either. No computer is going to, or the chance of them randomly generating that password is almost nil.
Rare.
Have you had instance where this LastPass site is down and you can't get to it?
Never. I've been using LastPass for about 15 years.
Good question.
Yeah, that is a good question, but it's possible, I guess, that could happen.
I have a question. When you are finished working with your computer for the day or whatever, is it wise then to log out of LastPass?
You can log out of it, or you can have it set so that when you log in, it requires you to re-enter your password.
Oh, okay.
That way, when you shut your computer down, instead of having to log out, it will force you to log in. So that way, if I turn off my laptop and somebody steals my laptop, they can't get into it because they're going to have to log in to LastPass to activate it.
Okay, so it's better than to have it. Okay, it's better to have it log in each time. Okay.
Yeah. If you're in a public computer, then you got to remember to log out before you leave that computer.
Right.
So you got to be real careful on a public computer. All right, we are out of time. I've run over here. I kind of lost track of time, but there were such good questions. Let me quickly go to the closing. And that was the end of the actual class. So we did cover everything we meant to cover and had lots of good questions along the way. Hope you enjoyed the class. Hope you learned some things about it. It is a tough topic. A lot of people take the class twice. A lot of people also get the recording and watch the recording again. But you're certainly welcome to take the class again. I always tell people it's never the same class twice because the questions really drive the class.
Are different.
So if you're still fuzzy, feel free to take it again. I'm going to go to the overall closing, especially for anybody that hasn't taken classes from Get Set Up, and explain how things work from here. You will get an email after class, and it'll have a number of sections to it. There's a class notes section, which will have some general takeaways. This is where those links are going to be to the 2 websites that have reviews of all the different website manager or password manager software packages. So be sure and take a look at those links, read through those 2 articles. It has lots more information than I could provide in the time we've got in a class. There'll be links to recommend the class. If you want to recommend the class to someone else, you can post a link on Facebook, or you can send a link via email. There'll be links to 3 other classes you can click on, and there's a link to give feedback. When you click the give feedback link, it opens our feedback form. Only 2 questions: rate the class and rate the guide. There's also a link to view schedule. View schedule takes you to our website where you can book another class. All right. So we are at time. I'm 1 minute over time, so I almost got you down on time. I do want to thank you for attending. I hope you enjoyed the class and hope you learned more about password managers. Take a look at those links, and hope to see you in another one of my classes really soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. It's very good. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye now.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody.